Joining us now to discuss is Democratic leader and friend of the show, Hakeem Jeffries. Welcome, sir.
Leader Jeffries, while we were on air, you had the president saying this on Truth Social. This is an economic revolution and we will win. Hang tough. It won't be easy, but the end result will be historic. Do you think he means historic good or historic bad?
Well, the end results will definitively be historically bad. These Trump tariffs represent the largest tax increase on the American people since at least 1968. What we're seeing is that he is crashing the economy in real time. Costs are going up. The Trump tariffs are likely to result in thousands of dollars in additional costs on the American people in terms of groceries and gas and goods. And at the same time, we're seeing the retirement savings of the American people plummeting as well. This guy is driving us toward a recession, and this is not what the American people voted for or expected.
Leader, I mentioned in the last hour conversations I've been having over the last few weeks with a buddy of mine who is a blue-collar worker. Has been able over the last 30 years to save money in his retirement, his 401k. And he has lost about $32,000 in the last 3 weeks from his retirement savings for him and his wife. Talk to him. What would you say to him? What is the message he needs to hear from you as leader of the Democratic Party in this hour as he's watching they're now having to recalculate how he's going to retire because Donald Trump has taken $32,000 out of his life savings?
It's very painful, and as I travel the country, these are stories that I am hearing over and over and over again. And that is one of the reasons why we are going to continue to aggressively show up, stand up, and speak up against these Trump tariffs, which are doing real damage to everyday Americans. And we're calling upon both House and Senate Republicans to join us. In the House, all we need on any given bill is basically 3 House Republicans to stand up for their constituents and act like they actually work for the American people, as opposed to bending the knee consistently for Donald Trump or Elon Musk, even when these two out-of-control individuals are doing real damage to their constituents. This is one of the reasons why, as we travel the country, Democrats, we're going to continue to engage the American people, have town hall meetings in our districts and in Republican districts, in blue states, in red states, and in purple states, so that we can raise awareness of what's happening and make sure that these Republicans in Congress are being held accountable for their complicity and failure to act in the best interests of the people they were sent to Washington to represent.
You know, Leader Jeffries, Congress could do something about this today if they wanted to. I know that House Democrats are ready to stand up for the American people, and you would vote. Is it correct to say that you would vote in support of taking back the power of deciding tariffs with Congress? That's something you would support?
That's absolutely something that I would support. And we have legislative efforts that will intensify this week in response to these reckless Trump tariffs. I know that at least one Republican House member, Congressman Don Bacon, has also introduced legislation or is planning to address this. So we're going to be in conversation with a handful of our Republican colleagues because Congress can stop this carnage from happening. And one of the things that hopefully will cause some people to change their perspectives. You know, Donald Trump, the biggest lie that this guy ever told was that he cared about you, the American people. He does not. Cares about himself and his billionaire donors like Elon Musk. And as if we didn't need any additional proof, but at the same time that the retirement savings is crashing, the stock market is crashing, the economy is crashing, Donald Trump is on the golf course. This is what he chooses to do. And so we have to continue to press our case aggressively on the economy, on health care, on Social Security, and we'll continue to do just that.
He's on the golf course to the tune of $26 million, Simone.
A lot of, I mean,
Taxpayer
truly,
dollars.
like bleeding the American people dry while their 401ks and pensions are plummeting. I just have to ask then. So Don Bacon, my congressman, I'm from Nebraska. He represents District 2. He is a very vulnerable Republican that could lose his seat next November. What about the speaker? Has he indicated a willingness? Because it's about the people, like Michael talked about. I'm also thinking about the small business owners, the taxes on food and beverage, the restaurants. I mean, I went out last night and I had to order some champagne because I didn't know if I'd be able to get it 3 months from now, given what Donald Trump is doing to this economy.
Or you would normally order champagne, but that's...
Here you go.
It does. I think one of the challenges that we'll continue to have is that Republican leadership has shown no willingness to stand up to Donald Trump and his administration. But that doesn't mean we can't find rank and file Republicans to do it, joining us with a unified Democratic opposition, particularly as the pressure continues to intensify on them. They've already taken so many different reckless votes as it relates to the budget resolution that initially passed in the House. That's the largest Medicaid cut in American history. Now they're trying to dismantle Social Security, undermining veterans' benefits, literally trying to take food out of the mouths of babies by cutting nutritional assistance. And what is this all being done for? To enact a massive tax break for billionaire donors like Elon Musk. The whole thing is a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
That's the Ponzi scheme that is being visited upon the American people right now.
Just to put a finer point on what you have just said, there seems to be disagreement among Republicans in the two chambers about how to proceed on this question of the budget. Let me read you this from the Hill. The budget debate revealed the biggest looming fight between Senate and House Republicans is over Medicaid. House Republicans have slated the program for tens of billions of dollars in cuts, something that several Republican senators have warned they would oppose in any final reconciliation bill. Where is this headed, Leader Jeffries?
Well, we're going to continue to stand up for the health care of the American people and point out that what House Republicans have already voted to do and have not walked away from is a potential Medicaid cut of up to $880 billion. Here's what this means. Children will be devastated. Women will be devastated. Older Americans will be devastated. Everyday Americans with disabilities are going to be devastated. Hospitals and nursing homes and community health clinics are going to close. That affects people who are on Medicaid, almost 90 million Americans, but also people who get their health insurance in other forms, because if the hospital closes, it doesn't matter whether you're on Medicaid or not, you are going to be hurt. And so we will continue to be very clear that these Medicaid cuts are completely and totally unacceptable. I think the Senate Democrats have done exactly the same thing as this process unfolds, and we're going to work as hard as we can to find just a handful of Republicans who are now on the run on this Medicaid issue to do the right thing by their constituents.
Congressman, we've been talking about voting in the last hour or so minutes, and the reality of it is we saw how Republicans under Elon's leadership and the president's backing dropped $26 million into a race to try to convince voters to go with the MAGA candidate. They rejected it. We saw Democrats close the gap in Florida in two congressional districts, which are R+30. Democrats took 14 points and 17 points off, respectively, closing that gap. So there's momentum there. But there's something even a little bit more close to the ground relative to your chamber. You've now threatened a lawsuit in the state of Texas over delayed Texas special election, noting the Houston area district, Texas 18, which has a predominantly Hispanic and black population and has now had its previous two members die in office, could go as long as 7 months without representation in this Congress unless the governor calls an emergency election. Talk to us about what's happening there in terms of those two seats and why you think there's an effort to stall this to get past this Congress.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for that question. The Honorable Sylvester Turner, who was a great public servant, former mayor of Houston, sworn into Congress this year on January 3rd, unexpectedly and tragically passed on March 5th, exactly 1 month ago. He was funeralized during his homegoing service on March 15th. Yet weeks have passed, and the governor of Texas is conspiring with House Republicans to keep the seat vacant. Why? Because they are on the run legislatively, and they know their margins are tight, and they're trying to do everything they can to rig the system in order to jam their GOP tax scam down the throats of the American people, and in the process, take away health care from everyday Americans and do a bunch of damage. This is what this is all about. There's no reason that the governor of Texas has not called a special election over the last few weeks. It's a fraudulent scheme, and it's connected to what we're seeing taking place all over the country, including in North Carolina right now. By the way, North Carolina is a particularly bad actor because the 3 seats that Republicans took away from Democrats in North Carolina through extreme partisan gerrymandering in the middle of the decade, after redistricting had already taken place, and it was sanctioned by this right-wing Supreme Court, those 3 seats actually make the difference between Democrats being in the majority right now and House Republicans. And so it's a bad lesson that they've learned, and they're not going to walk away from it, which is why we have to continue to raise the alarm, mobilize the American people, and then hold them accountable for their anti-democratic actions.
Very quickly, sir, then, are you concerned that Republicans across the board and key districts across the country will attempt to deny Democrats and, frankly, you the speakership if you all are successful in November? If the numbers from Florida hold, I mean, dropping a plus 30 district and a Republican only winning it by 15, 14, 17 points, that to me spells danger. So are you concerned that they might try to steal the election, and are you all prepared?
Yes, we have to be incredibly vigilant across the board, call out their schemes well in advance, which will help stop them from the standpoint of public sentiment from engaging in it. This is one of the reasons why the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race was so critical, because that's a battleground state for next November, let alone in 2028, at least 2 competitive congressional seats in Wisconsin. And we've got to make sure that we are protecting the integrity of the courts all across the country. And in many of the battleground states where this next election will be decided, you do have enlightened state Supreme Courts. So that's the good news. We're also suing Donald Trump. I'm suing him personally, along with Leader Schumer, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, the Democratic Governors Association, and the Democratic National Committee, all of us together to make sure that we can get his executive order, which is all about voter suppression, declared unlawful and unconstitutional, and I believe we'll be successful in doing just that.